Let me start off by saying, as I was reading the Sentinel last week, they were talking about looking at Florida 10 years later. And they talked about the state universities and how most universities had either decreased in minority enrollment or it's pretty much stayed flatline. But when it came to UCF, there was a very special story to tell. UCF has really increased its minority enrollment within that 10 years. When you go back and look at the number of African American freshmen that we increased as of 2008, it was 616, which gave us a 67% increase. When you look at Hispanic enrollment, 948, which gave us a 103% increase. We had the best record in the state. And it says something about our leadership, especially at this university. When you talk about diversity and you talk about John T.Washington, Dr. Washington always talked about commitment, and that commitment starts from the top. And I want to give a special, I want to say shout out to a very special person. This is his last year. But Dr. Hickey, thank you for being so supportive of diversity here at this university. And on a personal note, when I go back and look at your minority enhancement program, where you actually set aside monies in your budget to help the colleges recruit minorities and women. And I know from a personal note from our college, we have had 8 to 10 faculty members who came in under that line. And out of that 8 to 10, all has been granted tenure. 3 has left. 1 went on to be the chair of the Poli-Sci Department at Morehouse. 1 is chair, University of Arkansas, Jonesboro. And 1 is also chair in Poli-Sci at Texas A&M. So it really says that your program has worked for us, UCF, to increase the number of women and minorities, but also it's to say your leadership in helping to promote diversity. And Dr. Hitt starts with that top-down approach, and I thank you again. And with that, I would like to introduce you to our Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Terry Hickey, to bring the welcome. Thank you.
Well, each year, the African American Studies program hosts the John T. Washington Community Service Awards and Scholarship Luncheon to recognize adults and youths who have made outstanding contributions to the community. Besides being one of the first African Americans to hold a faculty position at UCF, Dr. Washington was a humanitarian and leader who not only taught a life of service, but also lived it. His sincerity and altruism had a profound impact on those with whom he had contact. The annual John T. Washington Luncheon honors his legacy by celebrating the involvement of citizens who participate in community and civic programs in the greater Central Florida area. The Community Service Awards recognize people who exemplify the same humanitarian and scholarly characteristics that were so vividly demonstrated by Dr. Washington. Since 1984, the John T. Washington Award Committee has bestowed 66 awards and granted more than $20,000 in scholarships. These awards have encouraged individuals to continue their worthwhile service to the community and have enabled deserving students to further their academic careers. I am pleased to have been invited to give these opening remarks once again, and thank you all for attending this year's luncheon.
The African American Studies program has been greatly enhanced because of your presence, Dr. Hickey. And I wanted to thank you personally for acknowledging the African American Studies program and assisting us in establishing the center, the Carol Mundy Center Research Center, and as Melvin Rogers already mentioned, the Minority Enhancement Program. We really appreciate you. We're sorry to see you go, and we wish you the best. Thank you very much.
And now, from the College of Arts and Humanities, Dean Jose Fernandez. Dean Fernandez, please.
Good afternoon. I noticed that in the program, I was listed as Associate Dean, and I figured that that was one of Provost Hickey's last actions to demote me, so I'll take it in stride. I'm Jose Fernandez, Dean of the College of Arts and Humanities, and I would like to welcome you to this very annual event, very special event here at UCF. I would like to take the opportunity to thank each and every one of you for taking the time from your busy schedules to celebrate the life and legacy of an outstanding scholar and humanitarian, Dr. John T.Washington. I always think of him as one of the great guys in our community. We're grateful for the memories that he left us, and are indeed very fortunate that his life and legacy continues to live through the lives of many of you in this room today. He certainly left an impression in each of us. As many as you know, John T. Washington, Associate Professor of Sociology, was one of the first African Americans to hold a faculty position here at UCF. I can truly say that I have had many memorable opportunities in my many years of academic service, and I'm proud to count among them the great fortune of meeting Dr. Washington when I arrived here at UCF almost 30 years ago. He was truly a wonderful man. Dr. Washington modeled a life of service for all of us to imitate. Service to God, to his family, to his students, and his community. That's the kind of leadership that stands the test of time. I will ever be forever grateful for his example. I am very happy that you have chosen to spend part of your day here with us. Thanks again for coming, and please enjoy the program. Thank you.
My name is Diane Merck, and I live and work in Sanford. It's my very great honor today to introduce to you Rose Davis, Sister Rose Davis, or Missionary Rose Davis, as she's been come to be known in Sanford and in Seminole County. Rose is a unique individual who is certainly deserving of this award and exemplifies, I think, the things that Mr. Washington embraced so greatly, and that this organization has continued. She, because she is a missionary, she always has her hand out. Every donation is important, but her hand is out to offer a hand up to every needy, underserved child, every family in Sanford, black, white, doesn't matter. She has an incredible intervention program in the Sanford projects. If anyone has ever worked with that demographic group, you know that every day she would have to put her life on the line, use her own money to feed other people, to clothe them, to find shelter for them. This is a woman who has made service to others her life's work. And I'd like to introduce her to you now, Rose Davis.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to give honor to all of our officials here today. I'd like to just thank God for this opportunity to be before such a diverse group, because I really believe in diversity. So it's indeed an honor and a privilege to be here. And I thank God for the ones that submitted my name for this award. I thank God for Mr. Washington and the legacy that he left. I give honor to his wife today. God bless your mother. And I just thank God today for all of his wondrous works. And I'm excited and nervous, and I got a cramp in my leg, but that's Rose. But I do indeed consider this a great honor And I would just love to just say thank you, and thank you.
My name is Mary Nan Nordhorn, and I have the honor of serving as a guidance counselor at Winter Park High School. Thank you so much for having us here this morning. This is a rare treat, and we are very grateful for this opportunity. I'm so proud to introduce a young man to you in just a moment who is one of our most outstanding seniors at Winter Park High School. He is about to graduate from our rigorous International Baccalaureate program, which is ranked in the top 1% of all IB World Schools. Even in this kind of program, this young man is a star, simply outstanding. He is earnest and dedicated to the pursuit of excellence. He has served as a role model and mentor to our younger students in the program, as well as those students who are not in the program. Those of you who are familiar with International Baccalaureate know that a great number of community service hours are required, 200 hours in all. Well, this young man has far exceeded the number of hours. He has been active in his church locally, strongly spiritual in nature. He has served in the Serve the City outreach program, as well as the Boys and Girls Club. He has also participated in several mission trips abroad. This young man truly has a heart for service. While understandably proud of his African American heritage, this young man is both accepting and appreciative of diversity. He is kind and gentle with those less fortunate and displays a degree of insight most unusual in one so young. Honest and trustworthy, he exemplifies all that is right and good about his generation. This fine young man and those like him are our hope for the future. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Marlon Blue.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'd like to thank Ms. Nordhorn for recommending me. And this award is just an accolade for all the community service work that I've done, and I will continue to volunteer throughout the rest of my life. Thank you very much.
My name is Inez Ford. I'm the Assistant Director in the Office of Student Financial Assistance. Welcome to the program. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing the Student Scholar Award. First, I'd like to say thank you to all the students who applied for the award. We had many great applicants. Now, let me tell you about Remy Dorelis, who is nominated by Rebecca Piety, the Director of University Testing Center here on campus. Remy is a senior majoring in health services, preclinical. He's excited and passionate about anything related to medical. And actually, his ultimate goal is to attend medical school, hopefully at the University of Central Florida, if not Duke University. Remy is a member of the Pre-Medical Student Association, Sickle Cell Foundation as a part-time volunteer, the International Medical Outreach Trip Coordinator, and Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society Chapter Vice President for 2008-2009. His humanitarian efforts include a medical trip to Peru, which he participated in March last month, a volunteer at Florida Hospital East, and fundraising efforts for the Haitian relief efforts. In Rebecca Piety's words, the motto, if you believe you can achieve, is the bar by which Mr. Dorelis' work ethic and commitment to his education is held to. This philosophy has served him well thus far and will continue to do so in the future. He embodies dedication and commitment to his chosen profession and to reaching out to better the lives of others. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Remy Dorelis.
I want to thank you, John T.Washington and his wife, for this honor. For me, it is a privilege. And there is something that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, everyone is great because everyone can serve. And I strive to serve with commitment, with dignity. And I just got back from a trip in Peru with one of the prestigious organizations on campus called International Medical Outreach. While I was in Peru, I learned how valuable an individual he is when he or her try to reach out the less fortunate. This is why I am devoted my life and I am committed to serve and to reach out. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, this scholarship will help me, will empower me to accelerate in my career. Once again, thank you so very much.
On behalf of African American Studies, the Office of Student Financial Assistance, and the Scholarship Selection Committee, I award you this scholarship. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I would like to introduce you to Mr. Marcus Sandlin, who's the president of the John T. Washington Society, and he will do a short presentation. Marcus.
Salutations all. As stated, my name is Marcus Sanderlin, and I am the current president of the John T. Washington Art Society. I have the privilege of being involved in this organization for the entirety of my college career. Watching it prosper into the outstanding organization it has become today. Succeeding in and out of the classroom, this year we as an organization committed to completing at least 2 community services per month. These events ranging from student mentoring to partaking in the Walk for Education that was sponsored by the NAACP. We also recently received recognition from the Knights of the Round Table Agency for our outstanding work here at the UCF campus. As I prepare for my final year here at UCF, I can honestly say that this Honor Society has played an intricate part in my success at college. And as I begin to transition in the new executive board, along with the 16 new scholars to soon be inducted, I can only rejoice knowing the opportunities that will be bestowed upon them. Realizing the great legacy Dr. Washington has left behind, I truly feel this organization is a living embodiment of his work. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I must acknowledge to my friend, our keynote speaker for this afternoon, that this is an honor for me to be here. It's the first time that I have attended an event for Professor Washington, and it's just a delight to be here and to get to know all about him. But my dear friend, whom I'm introducing to you today, when I received my program, I was shocked because there is a very, very exquisite bio of her on the 3rd page in your program. If you have not read it, then please do so. So this is just a formality for me to present her to you because the bio says it all. But I'm going to tell you just a couple of other little things about her. If you read the first paragraph, it tells you about her past. She is absolutely Florida grown, as am I as well. Native Floridians we are. The bio also talks about her growing up, and she's also, I might add, one of 9 children, and the very first in her family to graduate from college, which was an accomplishment that was so received so well by her family. They're all extremely proud of her. The other thing is that we met, I would say midways, the second paragraph, when Dolores had finished her career with Orange County School Board and came to work with the state of Florida as a social worker. That's where we met, some more than 30 years ago. She was a delightful person when I met her, fun to be around. She is a very active person who wears many hats, as you see from the bio. She is an entrepreneur, a businesswoman. She's a licensed cosmetologist, cardiovascular screener, a licensed teacher and missionary in her church, and she travels extensively with her husband, the Reverend Dr. Whitaker, on evangelistic and missionary work, which she enjoys very much. I can hardly keep up with her, when she's in town. Often when I call her, I say, "Where are you?" And she'll say, "We're in Texas," or "We're in Michigan." I said, "Okay, I'll talk with you when you get home." Dolores has had a wonderful career with the state of Florida, as we both did, serving the developmentally disabled for more than 20 years. And this is what led her to want to do more in that field when she started her present business, which is called Bridge Builders. It was born as a result of her love for what she was doing for the developmentally disabled. I want to end with just saying to you, she's a very kind, a very spiritual, thoughtful and loving wife, mother, grandmother, sister, aunt, and friend. If there's anything you have that's challenging, you want to tackle, you want to consult with her. She will give you good advice or encouragement, and she's honest. I present to you now my dear friend, Mrs. Dolores Battle Whitaker.
Good afternoon to Dr. Hitt, Ms. Clark, Ms. Washington, Dr. Stevenson, and each one of you in your respective place. I consider this an honor and a delight to be able to stand before you this afternoon and talk about the man of all men, Dr. John T. Washington. The task would be a very hard task had I not known the man. But because I knew him so well, the task is easy. I accepted the task from Dr. Stevenson, and she and I met, and she told me what she wanted and what you've had in the past, and I've attended several of the luncheons. As Peggy said, I travel a lot with my husband, and I'm not in town all the time, but when I'm here, I try to participate. I am excited. My heart is full this afternoon. Dr. John T. Washington was born May 9th, 1940, to Lewis and Armetta Washington in a little town in South Florida, Immokalee, Florida. He attended Collier County Schools, where he graduated and went on to Florida A&M. He was drafted into the United States Air Force, therefore he did not complete his studies at FAMU. He was a member of our church, Triumph, the Church and Kingdom of God in Christ, and I knew him as a young girl when he would come to town singing with his gospel groups from FAMU and his friends. However, I didn't get to know him until they transferred to Orlando, McCoy Air Force Base. My family, the Williams family, and 2 or 3 other families, the Lewis, the Jones, and the Dawsons, were 3 or 4 families that became very close to Dr. Washington. Dr. Washington was a son, a husband, a father, a philanthropist, a minister, and a friend. Once you met him, you will never forget, because he left a lasting impression on everyone he met. He had many attributes: that he was a mild-mannered man, a man of few words, and a good listener. When he listened to you, you did not have to worry about hearing what you talked to or with him about. because he did not gossip. He used his attributes by acting out with those good qualities. And as you know, attributes are the good things about one, the essence of a person. He used his attributes and put them in action to reach his goal. His goal was to live the life that God has ordained for him as a young man and a minister. I knew the man. I spent plenty of days and hours in the home with Dr. Washington and his wife and son. At that time, my children were small. Dr. Washington would pick them up, take them to school pick Phyllis up from school with his son. And they talk about the things that he did with them when they were in the car. He was an educator. They had to read all the words along the billboards and give the definitions of the words. Terry said he loved when his mother picked him up instead of his dad. He was a family man. He loved his family. Dr. Washington did all of the shopping. I went over this week and I sat down with Alma to just get some dates. I knew the information, but I wanted to be sure of the dates. And we talked about some of the things. She said, well, I said, you know, he used to do all of your shopping and Terry's shopping. She said, yes, he did. And I wore everything he bought for me. He did not like to go out to eat. She was a good cook, and he boasts about her cooking. And I believe Dr. Cook has spent many of days in the house with them, sitting at the table, the dinner table. He loved kids. He was a volunteer. He was a community worker, a civic worker. He worked for everybody who came to him and needed assistance. And when he would notify me or inform me that he needed help in transporting individuals to their different appointments or therapists, he called me. He did many of studies and research for the school, and when he needed someone to canvass the community in Paramore area, in the Washington Shores area, he always called Lois. I spent many of days and nights in that house. Now, I know we have to get out of here, but I'm going to try to make this as brief as I can. When I decided there was something else for me in life, I talked with Dr. Washington about what I wanted to do in life. He would always use the words, those of you who knew him knew he liked to say, I suggest, or persevere. So those were the two words he used with me, and they stuck with me all these years. When you really want something, you're gonna persevere. There were many students that came to him. They may not have been his students in the classroom, but they befriended him because he was well known around this campus. And at that time when I graduated, it was FTU. So that's been many years. Dr. Washington encouraged me to go back to school. I knew what I had to do. I had to quit the job that I was working on to go back to school. I didn't know how I was going to support 2 children. But Dr. Washington had already planned it out for me. When I went through the registration line, Ted Drawdy, who was the secretary for sociology and social work, said, oh, Dolores, come with me. I followed Ted. There was a job for me in the sociology department, and I worked in there for the 2 years I was at FTU. Dr. Washington founded the First Church of Peace. He had been a member of Triumph the Church and Kingdom of God in Christ for many years, but he longed for something else. Mary McKinney was one of our charter members. Mary's with us today. He organized the church. Had he lived to this day, I'm sure he would be one of the mega churches in the Orlando area. We traveled throughout the Southeast together on speaking engagements. January 1st, some of you may know about Emancipation Proclamation services that are held in the Orlando area at various churches. Dr. Washington was the organizer of the Emancipation service for January 1. As a result of him organizing the service here in Orlando, he participated in Savannah, Georgia, with one of the bishops in our church on Emancipation, January 1st, and I accompanied them on that trip. Those of you who knew him knew he was a man who couldn't say no. I know that. Could not say no. In his latter years, his health began to fail him. He was advised by his doctors and his colleagues to reduce his workload and his activities. Being the man he was, he could not do that. He continued to preach as though his health was perfect. We knew he was failing. We saw it in him. On March 6, 1983, Dr. Washington preached his last inspired message before his untimely death at the age of 41. His message came from Psalms 46. And these are some of the things he said in that message. He stated, through it all, God is my refuge. I run to him for strength. He's a very present help in time of trouble. Though I fall, I am not cast out. I am not cast down. For the Lord will hold me with his hands. He is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom should I be afraid? God is my refuge and strength, a very present help in time of trouble. Dr. Washington was and still is my hero. I consider him the man of all men. May God bless you.
Thank you, Mrs. Whitaker. Every year that we get a chance to invite someone who knew Dr. Washington personally, we get another glimpse of him, and this year it was very moving. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. I have a few quick announcements if you don't mind. I'm very close to 1:30 if I'm not at it, but give me a minute and I'll talk very quickly. Again, Mrs. Whitaker, the oral history that we're developing of Dr. Washington is amazing, and that's because of people like you. We're very delighted for it. And Mrs. Washington, I thank you so much for suggesting Dolores Whitaker for this year's luncheon. I would like to thank President Hitt for coming. We appreciate you being here, and I know that you were traveling, but we're glad that you were able to attend the luncheon this year. The board members that were also able to come, Ray Gilly, Ida Cook, Phyllis Clark, and Brian Peterson, we thank you all for being here as well. Provost Hickey, thank you very much for coming. Dean Fernandez, Dean of the College of Arts and Humanities, we thank you very much for being here. Lyman, I'm so glad. Dean Brody, we're glad that you were able to come as well. This luncheon has kind of become a joint venture now with the College of Arts and Humanities and the College of Health and Public Affairs. So Dean Melvin Rogers, I could not do this without you. Thank you very much. I would like to give a special shout out to the John T. Washington Committee members this year. Mary, for the beautiful flowers. Thank you so much, they're gorgeous. Yay. Inez Ford, for your sparkling personality that I don't have to follow right behind anymore. I thank you. Thank you for coming and doing what you do. And AJ Range, who was not able to come today, we hope all is well with him and his family. Commissioner Ings, it's very nice to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. Susie Harris, Reverend Susie Harris, we hope you're here, and we thank you for being here. We thank you again, Mrs. Dolores Whitaker and family, for coming, for sharing your knowledge of Dr. Washington. We greatly appreciate it. For the continued supporters year after year, with the constant budget cuts that we get, we're not sure when we set this up who's going to come, how large the venue will need to be, and everything. But this year, we exceeded 160 people signing up for the luncheon and actually paying for that. So I'm very grateful to the continued supporters that we have every year. I'm grateful for the new supporters that come each year, for the people that are in our ads. I always agonize over who's going to end up in the back, but I learned this year that the people who ended up in the back got a larger slice of cake. So that's their reward, and my deep felt thanks. Next year, the luncheon is going to be in the Pegasus Ballroom on a Monday, April 11th, 2011. And so the seating will be a little different and more people will be closer to the front. I'll still agonize, but not as much. I could not do this luncheon without Mrs. Angela Warren-Sice. Your work this year, Angela, has been fantastic. Thank you so much. In closing, I would like to ask the winners to stick around. Please take all of the wonderful parting gifts we have for you, use them, and think of us. And please take note of the little card that is how you can help the African American Studies program and the John T. Washington Luncheon again. And thank you for my students who came in and helped. Thank you all very much. God bless you. Thank you.